Hey, everybody, you are tuning in to the Counterculture Mom Show. I'm your host, Tina Griffin, and it is time for a tech check. We are talking to an amazing guest who's going to give us tips to tackle the tech talk. Dear word, that's a lot of T's. Preston Bowman, how are you doing? Thanks for joining us here today.
I'm doing great, Tina. It's a real honor, genuinely. Thank you.
Absolutely. You are doing so much work behind the lines, and I love connecting problems with solutions. So, this was a no brainer to have you on representing Access today. I heard about your ministry at least 10 years ago. You guys have a fantastic team. You gave me about 300 resources. So, we're going to dive right in. You have the two daughters. It obviously, tech time has drastically changed over that decade because you have like a 9 year spread in raising your daughters.
I mean, right out of the gate, I'll just say they're worlds apart. Parenting these two girls, when Access started, their ministry was to millennials, and today, the things we produce are with Gen Z in mind.
Yeah.
Gen Z grew up, they came out of the womb with one of those devices in their hands. And so this is where they live, breathe. This is their world. And this is what they know of the world as being communicated on that device. And I think any parent of an 8 to 18-year-old today will, be vigorously nodding their head. This is the parenting issue of the decade.
You're so right on. And just listening to you, I know I'm going to have a lot of aha moments here in the next half an hour. You know, the problem with that too is when you and I were kids, we had a pager, if that. Like I was 20 years old when I had a pager, 25 years old when I finally got a cell phone when they first came out practically. I mean, teens today, tweens today, toddlers today are having a heart attack if they don't have a cell phone in their hand. It seems like every 5 minutes. So how do
Absolutely.
parents, navigate that? It's so true. When I'm out speaking, I will notice parents that don't care, aren't aware, or feel so overwhelmed, so they don't tackle tech at all. How do you see parents responding to the barrage of media influence, and how can we navigate somewhere in the middle?
Tina, we really could talk for a couple hours on these topics. I mean, the depth of the change. You talked about when we grew up. You talk about when my 25-year-old was a teenager, the choices of what to watch versus today. The influence of the culture pushing into the minds of our teenagers, how much that's changed over 10 years. We as parents cannot go to one of those extremes you talked about.
Yep.
We can't do it. So I like to talk about this in terms of walls and watchtowers. The traditional way of parenting is to erect walls around our kids. We establish these rules and we say we're going to keep the influence of the culture of the world out. We're going to guard our kids, and that is a necessary thing. We're not advocating the uh, demoing of the walls. The walls need to be there. We still need rules for our kids. But inside of those walls, we must erect a watchtower that we take our kids up in and we look at the landscape outside of the walls. We acknowledge it. We talk about it. We discuss with them how would God want us to respond to the things we're seeing out there. When you are outside the wall and you encounter that thing that you see out there, how is it best to react? And so we must guide our children into proper thinking, not simply erect the walls and protect them. Does that make sense?
It absolutely makes sense because then when our kids are on their own, 18, 19 years old, or even high school years, when they're being influenced a ton by their friends, they can be the leader, not the follower, and hopefully teach their friends how to navigate pop culture tech safely and think two steps ahead. So,
Right.
helping our kids make wise decisions is so important. And you guys have a ton of resources, which we're going to get to here in a second. I seriously sometimes have a hard time knowing how to start these deeper conversations with my kids and get involved on a deeper level. My oldest is 12. So sometimes when we have 5 to 10 minutes, I'm not quite sure what to ask, how to ask it. But my parents really did not talk to me a ton while growing up. I grew up on a farm, we were working. So a lot of it was more surface. Not that it was bad, but
Hmm.
just surface stuff. Hey, we need you to come help in the barn, or how you doing in school. But it didn't go deep, deep the way it needs to go deep today because of how many things are influencing our kids.
Yeah.
So how could you advise myself and other parents out there to know how to dig deeper with their kids on these type of hard to talk about subjects?
You talk about growing up on a farm and not getting into deep conversations with your parents, and yet you could you could turn out okay, right? It still probably would have been a better form of parenting, but today it's critical.
Yep.
I mean, it's crucial that you don't do surface parenting. Access was started because the founders were seeing um, their peers that they had been in youth group with,
Mm,
even done street evangelism with, go off to college and have their faith dismantled
mm.
by an unbelieving, anti-Christian, group of professors. And they saw all of their friends just abandon their faith,
Wow.
and that was what motivated them to start Access, to kind of put up a dam for Christian young people, to stop going over the edge and to establish a lifelong faith. And so Access started because of that, and they started as a speaking ministry. So they would travel to youth groups and Christian schools and do several days of Christian worldview. And in fact, that was my first introduction to Access, because my 25-year-old was a junior in high school in a Christian school, and Access came through. And she
Wow.
came through just pumped about the material that she had learned. And their goal in doing that was to just help establish a solid faith, prepare them for that onslaught as they went into secular universities. About 5 years ago, 5, 6 years ago, Access realized our most effective ministry is going to come about by equipping those that have the greatest influence in teenagers' lives, and that's their parents. And we want to provide resources that help parents know what's going on in the culture, know what's going on in their kids' lives, and learn how to have a conversation about it.
Can you rattle off a couple of different scenarios, like a parenting 101 class on how to have conversations with
Yeah.
your kids? Examples right
Yeah.
now where we can start somewhere because I'm dying to pick your brain.
Absolutely. Look for ways to have a conversation that doesn't feel confrontational. So
Yeah.
you're not sitting, alone in your family room, facing each other, and you're giving them pointed questions, or even at a table facing each other. Look for opportunities to have those conversations where you're side by side, maybe on a walk, maybe in the car, but it's less confrontational to your teenager. It may not seem much different to you, it's very different to them. So, a scenario, for example,
Mhm.
um, as parents, we want to go right to, what are you listening to? I heard you listen to this the other day. Do you realize what those lyrics say? We want to jump right into the lecture. You want to ask questions that show you're interested in your kid's life,
Mhm.
not you're interested in controlling your kid's life.
That's good.
And you're being subtle. You're being undercover here, right? Because you do have an end goal. But your goal needs to be, I need my child to open up and hear me. But the only way they're going to hear you is if they believe you're hearing them. So a great question in that scenario is to say, um, hey, what are your friends listening to? Because it's less confrontational to them. And they're like, oh yeah, so and so is really popular right now. Um, and then you follow up with a question like, why do you think that is? Why are they popular? What is it about them? Is it their voice? Is it the lyrics? What is it? Um, so that's one example, and it's a really great angle to take, is to ask about their friends instead of them, and then immediately go into why. Why do you think they like that? How about you? I mean, Do you like that song too? Um, do you feel like and again, you're trying to avoid them closing up on you. So you're just
Right.
asking interest questions, right? Do you feel like the musicianship in that song is really good quality, or is it just that it's a catchy tune, or what do you like about it? And just get them talking. Just get them talking. And then as you build that trust with them, we're like, oh, mom just wants to have a conversation.
I'm trying to think in my brain. This is information I've been giving parents for 20 years. And I don't know if you find yourself doing the same thing, but I'm like, man, I don't give myself an A in this category. I'm giving out great advice, but sometimes I don't take it. Well, you're giving the advice I give, but for some odd reason I'm hearing it better when you say it than if I would say it. Like I'm talking to myself. The number one thing I thought about while you were just sharing, and I think a lot of parents can relate, is to have an interest in your children. That's hard in itself because usually we're the parent, we're telling them what to do and control and go clean this and do that and do your homework and da 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 da. That we hardly, I'll just talk for myself, I hardly take the time to have the interest that I know I should have for my kids. So I'm giving
Mm.
myself like a C minus here. I'm going to check in with you in a month and let you know if my grade's getting better as a homeschool mom here. I get about a C minus on that. Secondly, in order to have a quality relationship with your kids, it takes time. So when you're walking next to each other, when you guys are in the car, chit chat, I'm like, oh gosh, it's going to take more than 3 minutes. Shame on me for thinking it's going to take more than 3 minutes. These are the things I have to do. So you're so right.
Mhm.
Parents tuning in, we have to take the time to do that. And by taking more time now, I really believe it'll be less time needed for counseling, a drug rehab,
Absolutely.
taking care of your child's infant when your 14-year-old had a baby, all the things that'll happen as a result if we don't invest in time now. So you gave me a major aha moment today. So thank you for that. This is perfect timing to bring in your mission video. I want people to tune in to see what your mission is at Access because it is fantastic. Any words
Let's do
about my C minus?
it. I think any parent that's listening and evaluating themselves on this and saying, "Yeah, I'm not doing great at that," that's the first step. That shows that you care. So go raise your grade. You can. You're
Yay!
you're
Okay.
you're a smart parent that loves your child. You can do better, and we'll get deeper into this, but Access is here to help you do that. At Access, we like to call ourselves your research assistant.
Oh, I love it.
So much is going on in the culture. Every week, new stuff, new music, new trends, new slang. A new influencer becomes popular and all the kids know about it. And we as parents have no clue.
Yes.
Um, we don't have time. We don't live in that world. And so Access is your research assistant to keep you up to date on that. And I think, what you're about to talk about here is one of the first resources that we use to actually help parents stay on top of it.
Absolutely. Parents, tune into this. This is the mission and vision for Access and why every single parent in America needs to get connected with Access. Here we go.
Jennifer is the mom of Monica, a 14-year-old. Jennifer feels the generation gap as her daughter spends most of her day on social media. They talk, but Jennifer feels like they never have any meaningful conversations, and when she tries to discuss sensitive issues, they usually end in an argument and with Monica shutting down. Landon knows that his son Chandler has been exposed to porn. It actually happened on the school bus on the way to a baseball game. Landon's not sure how to talk to him about it, and in desperation is considering forcing him to use a flip phone. Today's preteens and teens are exposed to more outside influences than ever before. As a parent, you long to nurture the faith of your child and help them know how to be discerning about culture. If you're like nearly every other Christian parent, you just don't know where to start. We're Access, and we can help. Access is a 501c3 Christian nonprofit, and for the last 14 years, we've been engaging with teens, studying culture, and bringing a biblical worldview into the conversation that parents have with their kids. We make the hard conversations easy. We have the same heart as you, to see your child become an adult who is confident in their Christian faith. With an Access membership, you get a plan for how to start having meaningful conversations with your preteens and teens. Our library helps you feel confident about starting those conversations, and our dedicated team of researchers behind the scenes keeps you informed about the latest trends in culture. Each week, we make the Culture Translator, which is your free guide to teen culture. And when you become an Access member, you get access to everything we've ever made. You can read our parent guides, which cover over 100 topics that every teen faces, or watch one of our videos called Conversation Kits, designed for you to experience with your teen for easy, non-awkward conversations on current topics. Listen to what April told us. When I found weed in my son's closet that he was hiding, I was overwhelmed. However, my time with Access allowed me to take a step back and not act like a crazy mom. I was able to talk with my son with confidence instead of fear and begin to establish trust and healthy boundaries with him. With Access in your corner, you can begin to feel hope. Hope that your child's relationship to you and to Christ will strengthen and last a lifetime.
Okay, I can't even tell you. Like, part of me wants to shed a couple tears because a couple of years ago, a decade ago, my oldest was 2. And I'm like, I'm totally following the info you got to help other parents know that you exist. But now that my oldest is 12, I feel like I want to read I have been reading brochures, every brochure you guys make. You had 30 back then, 20 back then. Now you have over 100. That is fantastic. Digging in with what we just saw. How do parents tuning into this that just saw your resources, how do they get their hands on it? Because I know a lot of parents right now are thinking, just tell me where to go. What's the website? Help,
Yeah,
help.
absolutely. And I want to point out that was David Eaton. That's one of our founders. So Access is here because of his heart for teens and parents. So if you go to access.org, you'll see our various resources there. We have the first and easiest resource is what we call our Culture Translator. It is a weekly email, comes out on Friday. It has this long list of things that happened that week that typically your kid probably already knows about. And you can read through that and just casually bring it up to your teenager. And then they're going, how in the world does mom know?
Okay, so Preston, you have these fantastic PDF guides. What are some of the topics you have that you cover with this?
We have topics ranging from pornography to gender and identity issues, biblical things like the Bible or prayer, discipleship, and even really, really hard topics like masturbation, things you don't really want to talk about, but we give you the tools to know how to talk about it.
I think that's so important, especially when you have pop culture endorsing it and promoting it. It seems like on a daily basis, these are topics we have to get a grip on. And thank you for addressing these topics because I don't know of hardly any places where you can get resources about these topics. And then you have parents that don't address it at all because they don't have the knowledge and the info that they need in order to even bring up the conversation. So fantastic stuff. I also understand you have video series that you give parents. Can you explain exactly what that is and how they get their hands on it?
Absolutely. So we call them conversation kits.
Okay.
They are a series of 3 to 4 short, meaning 10-minute, 12-minute videos. Now, unlike parent guides, which are meant for the parent to consume, to have the knowledge, to know how to have a conversation with their child, conversation kits are designed to actually watch with your child.
Love
So
it.
the videos are fast paced. They pull in clips of current and past media. For example, maybe a current pop star pulling in a clip of their song where the lyrics actually talk about the topic that the conversation kit is about.
Oh, perfect.
Or it may go back and grab old clips that your kids are familiar with, like something from Back to the Future or whatever. But it's fast paced. It's enjoyable for them. It's not boring. It's not like you've asked them to sit and watch a lecture. And within each video, there are 2 to 3 places where we say, stop and discuss this question. And then it goes into kind of a countdown timer on the screen, and you've got 60 to 90 seconds to discuss this question. And those questions are designed not to be pointed, not to make your kid kind of slouch in the corner like, oh, do I really have to have this conversation with my parents? It's
Right.
a very light question, just designed to get conversation going. That is our goal at Access, is to equip parents with the knowledge they need, and then the ability to go have comfortable, kind of low pressure, low key conversations with their kids. Get them talking to you,
I
so then they are willing to listen to you. When you feel like you've blown it, just admit you've blown it. Humble yourself. Your kid will respond to that almost more than anything.
You're excellent. I need to get every book you've ever written. That's all I got to say. Excellent, excellent advice. And I've been giving it for a while, but yeah, you're hammering home here for me today. So people tuning in are obviously saying now, we want everything you guys pump out. How do we get our membership? I signed up as a member for your full-fledged membership this morning when you sent me the killer deal that I think you guys never do for our specific listeners. So I'm taking them to the landing page right now. Can you explain the amazing deal you're offering everybody tuning in via radio, podcast, TV program? What do you got for us here today, and what are they going to get?
When you're a member, you get the premium version of the Culture Translator, which is a whole bunch more information. And then with a membership, you get everything we've talked about, every parent guide, over 100 of them, all of our conversation kits on all these different topics. We do regular summits where we do like 3 days on a topic and bring in speakers doing interviews like this.
That's
Those are all available inside a membership. And so typically a membership costs $10 a month or $99 a year. And Tina, I've never done this before. I've never done this in an interview situation. We usually give a discount.
right.
But here's what I want to do. For the month of August, we're going to give away 100% free a year-long membership to Access to your
That
parents.
is
All they
fantastic. Preston and your team, high five here from Nashville, Tennessee, and all the parents tuning in. Parents, you are getting a free membership to Access. It literally is giving me chills because I know full well the robust, amazing parenting tips you give parents that are easy to read, apply, and see massive changes in their home. Thank you for doing that, Preston. That really means a ton to me. It means a ton to the parents tuning in. And I think we're going to see a lot of kids spared and saved as a result from some major chaos going on in pop culture today. So, to get to it, we want to go to axis.org/CC mom. That's axis, AXIS.org/CC mom. And I'm going to tell you right now, you will find that in the show notes. Click on free membership. You will get your hands on it. I know you're donor based. And so if people want to give because they love what you shared today and they see the very big need for what you give parents, what if someone out there is like, I really want to donate? Where can they
Yeah,
go to donate?
absolutely. And we are primarily donor funded, and we can't produce this material without donors supporting us.
Okay.
So if you would feel led by God to support what Access is doing and help reach other parents, you can simply go to axis.org, and you'll see, as you see on the screen there, a link that says give. And you click there and you can donate, and you can set up a reoccurring donation or do a one-time donation. And we would really appreciate that.
Once again, donate will be in the show links below. Let's give. They're a nonprofit. It's either given to the government or giving to an amazing cause like this that is literally helping our kids around this country. And Preston, you and I know full well our kids are under major attack from every single angle. You've got major answers to help them out with.
And let's not forget that the Lord is the one that's facilitating it. He's making it happen. So
Absolutely. Well, you get an A++ from Counterculture Mom and our staff for all the work that you're pumping out, what you're doing to save kids. I greatly,
thanks,
greatly
Tina.
appreciate it. I know I'm going to be in your neck of the woods speaking at Crossover Music Festival in 3 weeks. You and I better have lunch. So let's try to make that happen. People
Let's
tuning
do.
in, Preston, you've been such a joy having on the show today. People tuning in, check out the helpful links surrounding this. You have a link for downloading the app, to donate, to become a member for free for the year, which is fantastic. Tell everybody you know, share this episode all over the place because they too can sign up for free. They've got till the end of August for that. So blast this episode to the masses. Get your goods from Access. Thank you so much, Preston. Keep up the excellent work, and I will see you soon.
Tina, thank you so much. What an honor. Thank you for all that you do.
Absolutely. You too. Keep up the great work.